Now we move on. Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant head has issued a statement saying that the situation at the plant is completely under control. Due to continuous shelling between Russia and Ukraine, the plant had lost its external supply. The nuclear facility's head stated that repair work on 2 backup generators are to be completed shortly and they would be put into operations within a few hours. He further added that fuel reserves for the diesel generators powering the plant are sufficient for continuous operation. Earlier, President Zelensky accused Russia of deliberately creating nuclear threat and stressed that Russia is doing nothing to restore external power. However, the nuclear watchdog IAEA, which has been continuously monitoring the facility, issued a statement saying the plant experienced power fluctuations after losing connection to its substation. But the facility has been switched to an alternate line and power has been restored. This comes as both Russia and Ukraine accuse each other of targeting the nuclear site. Now for this discussion, we're joined by Glenn Grant. He's an ex-advisor to Ukrainian Defense Minister, joins us live from Riga. Thank you very much, Glenn, for joining us.
Well, no, thank you.
Thank you. Now, what are we supposed to make of this? It seems like just pure information warfare at this point. We heard different things from both sides, and now these statements from IAEA as well as the head of this Zaporizhzhia plant coming in.
Well, I think the first thing you can be absolutely 100% sure about is that Ukraine does not wish anything to happen to that power plant, because if there's radiation, then the whole of Zaporizhzhia, which is just up the road, would have to be evacuated. That would be several million people. So Ukraine is doing its absolute best to not fight around the power plant. The Russians are using it as an act of terror. So they are actually shelling in and around it, even though there are people working there, and it's causing problems, especially with power supply. Because without the power supply to regulate everything that's going on, then there is a risk of some sort of meltdown. Everybody is keeping their fingers crossed that the war sort of stays outside of that power plant, and let's hope it stays that way.
And today, Glenn, I would like to take your take on the talks that are supposed to be happening in Copenhagen today. What do you think, what is in the table for today's talks, and what do you think we can expect that to come out of these talks today?
These talks are really interesting, and they're interesting because they're now, for the first time, they are about Europe. They're not about Ukraine, and there are certain problematic things with this. One of which is that you know, Europe is now under pressure from drones, and Europe now needs to defend itself. Van der Leyen from the EU talked about a drone wall. Well, you can't have she was thinking about a wall along the border with Russia, but these drones have not come from there. They've come from ships. They've come from you know, out of Kaliningrad. So we're actually talking about now needing more than a wall, a drone umbrella. And that is hellishly expensive, really, really expensive. And not only that, is we don't have the technical means to do it at the moment. So my big worry is that you know, this meeting is actually going to draw energy, resources, political energy away from Ukraine towards the defense of Europe. And Ukraine can't afford that at the moment. It needs all the support from Europe that it can get. And actually, the main battle has got to be around Ukraine, not around the rest of Europe.
And how do you think, how can Europe accelerate its defense without compromising its values of democratic values and also accountability?
Interestingly, I don't think either of those are affected by what would come in terms of defending Europe in the main, because anything that they did would first of all, I mean, it's money and it's political will. You can't create a drone umbrella without both money and political will and some action, not just talk. But if they actually do any actions, then, for example, it might mean blocking the Russian grey fleet coming in and out of the Baltic states. Well, that would be against Russia. It wouldn't be against the rest of the EU. So I think that you're just going to see that the politicians in Europe are going to have to explain to the European countries that there is pain required now to defend themselves.
And now, a leader from European country, he mentioned yesterday that Europe is evolving from a peace project without arms to one that includes armed defense. So, Glenn, in your view, what are the key challenges and opportunities for Europe now at this point?
Well, the key challenge is creating the weapon systems that are required at a price that is sensible, because we saw when the drones attacked Poland, NATO actually activated F-35 aircraft. Well, they're hellishly expensive. You can't afford to be going and attacking some sort of plastic drone with an aircraft like that. They have to find means that are cheap and easy to use and that don't eat lots of people to manage it. Because some of the armed forces are simply not large enough to defend the country. For example, UK doesn't have enough forces to defend UK in an air defence fashion. So they're going to have to think about something else. What are the opportunities? Well, the opportunity obviously for defence industry and for lots of new industries, startups, to come up with new ideas across Europe to help with the defence. And that defence the defence startups could actually be a completely new energy-bringing economic thing for Europe, because if they get it right, then other countries are going to want to buy the same systems and join in with the development and with the intellectual property and things like this.
Right. With that, I would like to thank Glenn Grant. He's an ex-advisor to Ukrainian Defense Minister, joining us from Riga. Thank you very much. Now we have a breaking news. Reports are coming from Manchester that a stabbing incident has occurred outside a synagogue. The police have been called and the area has been secured. The Northwestern Ambulance Service has confirmed the incident, stating that emergency resources have been dispatched to the scene. The service also stressed that they are monitoring the situation and working to ensure that people receive help as quickly as possible.